Previously on PCZ TV, we covered the literary planes and then the planes of the Connery era Bond. So today, it's an anorak's review of the planes and the airlines in the Roger Moore era. Today on PCZ TV. Now, fortunately, we covered most of the manufacturers in the Connery era, I think. Anyway, so this video will be hopefully more concise. And as always, we will have some fun facts along the way. Oh, and as always, I will mispronounce every non-American word and phrase. Sorry.
Yes.
Moore's first foray is Live and Let Die in 1973, and a new plane arrives on scene. Bond is flying transatlantic on an early 747-100, Queen of the Skies. Now, we spoke about Boeing and Pan Am in the Connery video, so we'll just dive right into this 747. It's a long-range, wide-body airliner designed and manufactured between 1968 and 2023. Now, the first 747-100s were built with 6 upper-deck windows, 3 per side, to accommodate an upstairs lounge area. Anorak moment. Later, as airlines began to use the upper deck for premium passenger seating instead of just a lounge, Boeing offered the upper deck with 10 windows on either side as an option. Bond, of course, is in the version with the 3-window upper deck that marks it as a first-class lounge. Over 1,500 747s of various configurations were made, and obviously many are still flying today. Fun fact, Bond arrives at Pan Am's former Worldport terminal at New York JFK International Airport. It was completed in 1960 and marked by a flying saucer-shaped roof. Very jet-edgy. Great piece of architecture from the era, but sadly it was demolished in 2013. Why? Next up is the ubiquitous Bell 206 Jet Ranger helicopter. Now, we spoke about this in the Connery video, so we'll just move on to Mrs. Bell and the Cessna 140. Now, the Cessna brand is new to the James Bond film family. And Cessna was formed when Clyde Cessna and Victor Ruse became partners in the Cessna Ruse Aircraft Company in 1927. In 1985, Cessna ceased to be an independent company when it was purchased by General Dynamics. General Dynamics, in turn, sold Cessna to Textron in 1992. Bond uses the plane to escape the baddies, although he never actually takes off, probably because he rips the wings off. Ah yes, losing wings. We will see this occur later. The Cessna 120, 140, 140A family are a single-engine, 2-seat with a tailwheel, light general aviation aircraft, first produced in 1946, with production ending in 1951. Next up is a plane that the baddies were planning to toss James out of, the IAI 1121 Westwind. Now, this is a business jet designed by another newcomer to the Bond aviation portfolio, Aero Commander. Aero was formed in Culver City in 1944, and Ted Smith, a former project engineer at Douglas, assembled a team of 14 engineers to design what would become the Aero Commander. Fun fact, in 1955, the U.S. Air Force selected the Aero Commander as the personal transport for President Dwight D. Eisenhower, and he also got a shout-out in the previous video. In 1989, the Twin Commander aircraft subsidiary of Gulfstream, and that was hard for me to say, was acquired by Precision Aerospace Corporation, but I thought I said IAI. Well, Aero Commander was eventually acquired by Rockwell, a maker of the B-1 from the previous video. But the Commander created a problem. You see, Rockwell already had an executive jet of its own, the Sabreliner, and couldn't keep both in production because of antitrust laws. Therefore, the company sold off the rights of the Jet Commander to IAI in 1968. IAI, or Israel Aerospace Industries, was founded in 1953 as Bedek Aviation Company? I said that wrong, I'm sure. But where am I? Under the initiative of Shimon Peres, then Director General of the Ministry of Defense, in order to maintain Israeli Defense Force aircraft. Now, North American Rockwell's Jet Commander became the basis for the IAI Westwind line. IAI still exists today and is still making all sorts of aerospace products. About 500 of the Commanders were made in various configurations, with many still flying today. 1974, the man with the golden gun, and we have an AMX Matador coupe actually flying. We're just gonna skip right over this one because, hey, look, given the poor reliability and quality of any AMC product, I can't picture anyone actually wanting to fly one.
No.
So we'll go right on to the Republic RC-3 CB seaplane. Republic, wow, another new brand to the franchise. Holy cow, there are more than I thought. Now, Republic actually started as Seversky aircraft, founded in 1931 by Alexander Seversky. He was a Russian expat and World War I veteran pilot who has lost his leg in the war. But by 1939, the Seversky Aircraft Corporation wasn't doing well, and they, lost an arm and a leg, metaphorically and financially.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Seversky was forced out, and the board reorganized the company as the Republic Aviation Corporation. And Republic was purchased by Fairchild in the mid-60s. Fun fact, while Bond flies to Scaramouga's Island in this plane, Scaramouga later destroys it with a solar-powered laser gun. Now that's just plain rude.
How rude.
So let's take a look at the dearly departed RC-3 CB. In 1946, Republic began to produce the Republic CB, an unusual all-metal amphibian. Now, the CB was the brainchild of Percival Spencer, a former Republic P-47 test pilot. Now, he convinced the Republic board of a need for a light sport plane to meet demand for all the private aircraft from pilots returning from World War II. But, alas, this expected sales of CBs never materialized.
That was the plan. Not a great plan.
The Republic did manage to sell a little over 1,000 CBs in 2 years of production. Now, this was a fairly respectable number at the time. Now, there are still CBs out there, but should you wish to purchase one now, they can be had for about $150,000 or so. 1977's The Spy Who Loved Me. And we start with a Bell 206 Jet Ranger helicopter.
Another!
And then we add the Westland HH Sea King and the Wessex Mark II helicopters. Okay, so the Westland Company, another newbie-ish, although we did kind of mention a variant of it on Her Majesty's Secret Service. But Westland Aircraft was founded in 1935 when Petters Limited split its aircraft manufacturing from its aircraft engine concerns. Fun fact, during the Second World War, the company produced military aircraft, including the Lysander, which was famous for dropping spies off in the continent. Back to the firm, of course, buyouts, mergers, etc., etc. The latest in the saga was in 2004 when Finmeccanica bought the brand for a little over £1 billion. And now to the hardware. The Westland WS-61 Sea King is a British license-built version of the American Sikorsky S-61. Now, we talked about Sikorsky last video, so I won't go into detail, but it's essentially the S-61 that we saw in Thunderbolt. And about 340 were made by Westland. And the Westland Wessex HU-5, well, the Westland Wessex is an early turbine-powered helicopter and another one, license-built development of the Sikorsky S-58. These were made between 1958 to 1970, about 380 being made. Fun fact, if this helicopter looks familiar to you, then you watched the TV show Riptide.
Oh my.
Moonraker in 1979. Oh look, a Bell 206 Jet Ranger. Wow. Haven't seen one of those since, well, the last movie. But on the bright side, it is landing at LAX. Fun fact, have I vented about how shite LAX is? If I haven't, watch the last movie. I hate it.
Shite. Oh yes, that's shite.
He's over by the cargo portion of the airport on the south side, so he avoids the hell that is traffic into LAX proper. Fun fact too, Carroll Shelby rented out a hangar in this area of LAX to build his Mustang Cobras for Ford. And see this video for local details on that. And now we see Air France and the Aerospatiale BAC Concorde. So this is the first appearance for Air France. The major predecessor of Air France dates back to the establishment of, I can't say this, CGT. You guys, if you know how to say it, you say it. In 1909, which flew the world's first passenger-carrying fixed-wing flights within France in 1913. Now, Air France itself was formed in a merger in 1933 with a bunch of 4 other airlines along with CGT. And eventually, Air France became a government-owned company that, as it happens, was privatized in the 1990s. The Concorde, meanwhile, is a joint venture between Sud Aviation, I said that wrong, I'm sure, and British Aircraft Corporation, and I hope I said that right. And oh wow, lots and lots of buyouts, mergers, acquisitions of these manufacturers. Let's just say it is more or less Airbus today. The Concorde itself, what a thing of beauty and wonder. 20 or so were built, 18 are in museums, probably the highest ratio of build to preserve of any aircraft that I'm aware of. They operated from 1976 to 2003, and it had over a Mach 2 cruising speed. Amazing. Now, the only other supersonic passenger aircraft to enter service was the Soviet-built Tupolev Tu-144, which operated in the late 70s and was nicknamed Konkordsky by Western journalists for its outwardly similar look to the Concorde. Complete coincidence, I'm sure.
Coincidence? I think not!
Now, fun fact, I was in a 747 flying to England when one took off as we taxied alongside the runway. It was beautiful.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Oh. And speaking of 747, next up is the 747 shuttling the Rockwell Space Shuttle. See what I did there? Okay, so now a little bit more on Rockwell. Willard Rockwell made his fortune with the invention and successful launch of a new bearing system for truck axles in 1919. Now, he merged his Wisconsin-based operations with Timken Detroit Axle Company, based in Detroit. Now, of course, lots of mergers later, and Rockwell Standard Corporation then acquired and merged with LA-based North American Aviation to form North American Rockwell in September of 1967. Now, fun fact, North American made the fabled P-51 at 2 factories, one in Dallas and one in an area that is now part of LAX. Of course, let's talk about the space shuttle. This particular one shown is the Enterprise. Now, fun fact, in Thunderball, an Avro Vulcan bomber is hijacked. And in this movie, we see the Enterprise, and I'm trying to draw some vague reference to the second appearance of a Vulcan. But my mind goes blank.
That's a little joke.
Humor. It is a difficult concept. It is not logical.
But anyway, the Space Shuttle Enterprise, Orbiter Vehicle Designation OV-101, is the first orbiter of the Space Shuttle system. It was rolled out in 1976 but it was really developed to perform atmospheric tests. It was constructed without engines or a functional heat shield. Fun fact, in December of 2011, ownership of the Enterprise officially was transferred to the Intrepid Museum in New York City, where you can see it today. We're now up to 1981, and for your eyes only, and oh look, another Jet Ranger, albeit an Augusta Bell 206, made in Italy. Now, we talked about these two brands and the helicopter before in the Connery videos, so we will progress to the Cessna 185 Skywagon with floats. The Cessna 185 Skywagon is a 6-seat, single-engine general aviation light aircraft, first produced in March of 1961 with over 4,400 built, with production ceasing in 1985. Many are still flying to this day, but probably without the optional machine gun. Now we move on to the PZL Svidnik Mi-2 helicopter, and it's a new manufacturer in a new helicopter. So we'll start with PZL. PZL stands for...
This gets worse, come on.
I don't know. But it was established in Warsaw in 1928 as a state-owned company and was based on the earlier company that I can't say either. Now, fun fact, Zygmunt Pulaski, I'm sure I said that wrong, designed a series of high-wing all-metal modern fighters, the famous P-7 and P-11 of pre-World War II fame. But then the Germans and then the Russians invaded him. Oh well. After the war, Poland was under Soviet control, a centrally planned economy, and all local projects were abandoned in favor of manufacturing Soviet-licensed aircraft. In 1957, it was renamed to WSK PZL Svidnik, and actually has become one of the world's major helicopter manufacturers and was the exclusive producer of the Mi-2. After the fall of communism in Poland, all manufacturers became separate companies, initially state-owned, and, well, confusingly, all sharing the PZL name in some form. But let's chat about the Mi-2. The Mi-2, which NATO name of Hoplite, is a small 3-rotor blade multi-use helicopter. Nearly 5,500 were made by the time production stopped in 1999, and it still remains in service globally. Next up is Octopussy in 1983. And the helicopter action continues with the Aerospatiale SA-316 Alouette 3. Ah, yes. Our good European friend, the Alouette, is back, but this time with floats. And General Orlov changes his ride from the previous movie and gets an Aerospace helicopter SA-365 Dauphin. So Aerospatiale, later Eurocopter, later Airbus helicopters, whatever. The Dauphin is a medium-weight, light-purpose, twin-engine helicopter. It entered production in 1975 and has been in continuous production for more than 40 years, with the last delivery in 2021. Over 1,000 of these were made, with many still in service. Fun fact, it was also the United States Coast Guard helicopter before being replaced by the Sikorsky. Now, Connery famous flew Little Nellie, but Roger got to fly the BD-5 Acrostar microjet. Now, that's a fascinating little aircraft. Like Little Nellie before, it was a small production boutique product. Beatty Aircraft Corporation was founded by Jim Beatty in Cleveland in 1961. It eventually transmorgified and became the American Aviation Corporation. The company's kit planes included, of course, the famous BD-5, both propeller-driven and a turbojet-driven, as shown in the movie. Now, fun fact, The BD-5 has held the Guinness record as the world's smallest jet aircraft for more than a quarter century.
I can help you.
And a super anorak moment. Speaking of beer, the BD-5 has a beer and a Bond connection. So Budweiser used a BD-5 for promotional purposes, and Bond almost had to drink a Budweiser.
Bud with a lime.
Yeah, same.
Pity Guinness didn't sponsor the plane or Bond. However, the reality is very few of the kit versions were actually completed to the company's bankruptcy in the mid-70s. In total, only a few hundred BD-5 kits were completed, with a few still actually airworthy today. Fun fact, we'll see this tiny little plane later in a cameo in another Bond movie. Fun fact too, for my SoCal viewers, the Western Museum of Flight in Torrance has the propeller version on display, and the thing is indeed tiny. Moving on, we have a Beechcraft C-45 Expediter. Really? Are we still getting new manufacturers? Did we do Beechcraft already? I can't remember, but Beechcraft was founded in Wichita, Kansas in 1932 by Walter Beech. And since 2014, it is now owned by Textron Aviation, which is headquartered in Wichita, Kansas. The Beechcraft Model 18, or Twin Beech, is a 6-11 twin-engine, low-wing tailplane, aircraft manufactured from 1937 to November 1969. That's over 32 years. Wow. And over 9,000 were built, making it one of the world's most widely used light aircraft. And the final, more Bond movie is A View to a Kill in 1985. Taking the role of a Russian helicopter is a Eurocopter MBB B0105. Now, we covered Eurocopter, but the Cliff Note version is essentially Eurocopter begat Airbus and was formed by a whole bunch of mergers. Everyone from, in 1982, everyone from Aerospatiale and DASA to Messerschmitt and Focke-Wulf from Germany. So, honestly, it's more fun to chat about the MBB or Messerschmitt Bolko Blom. Seriously, folks, can they get easier names for me to pronounce? Now, fun fact, Messerschmitt, of course, were manufacturers of the famous Me-109, the arch enemy of the Supermarine Spitfire and the Hawker Hurricane of World War II fame. I guess it's fitting, therefore, that Bond's nemesis in the movie is this German machine. Oh, but to the aircraft in question, the Messerschmitt 105, okay, is a light twin-engine multi-purpose helicopter produced first in West Germany. It was the first twin-engine light helicopter in the world and the first rotorcraft that could perform aerobatic maneuvers such as inverted loops. It was made between 1967 and 2001, and by the close of production, over 1,400 had been produced in Germany. The next helicopter is the Aerospatiale AS-355F Ecureuil 2. Anorak moment. This aircraft flies Stacy Sutton to Zoran's mansion. Registration is FGDMS. Now, we covered Aerospatiale before, but the Ecureuil is new. What I love best about this, fun fact, is whatever. It's called Twin Squirrel, okay? Someone named their aircraft after a squirrel. Now, in North America, they called it the Twin Star because, let's face it, naming a helicopter after a squirrel is kind of different.
What, are you retarded?
No surprise then, in 2016, shortly after Eurocopter's rebranding as Airbus Helicopter, the group ended the production of the squirrel. But over 7,000 squirrels were made. And in a first for a Bond film, we have a blimp.
Zoran clearly used the "hey, wouldn't it be cool if" school of villain vehicle selection.
seriously, a f***ing blimp. Why?
Stacy, behind you! Get down!
Yes, please be aware of that very slow-moving, insanely difficult to maneuver, easily avoidable blimp that couldn't possibly wait. They f***ing catch her? In a f***ing blimp? What the f***?
It's the Skyship 500. This is Airship Industries' Skyship. Airship Industries was a British manufacturer of modern, non-rigid airships, aka blimps, from 1980 to 1990, and controlled for part of that time by Alan Bond. Fun fact, no relation to James Bond. Well, AI went BK in 1990, and his assets and IP were split up. Let's talk about the Skyship 500 itself. It's a polyester fabric envelope, of course, retaining helium gas and carrying a gondola for the control cabin, passenger cabin, production systems, and ballast. The fabric is coated with titanium dioxide and loaded with polyurethane to reduce UV degradation. That's kind of cool. Now, fun fact, power for the Skyship comes from 2 converted Porsche 930 engines. That is pretty cool. In the years 1980 to 1990, 6 Skyship 500s were made and used worldwide. Another fun fact is Fujifilm arranged the first overseas charter of one of these products. Fun fact 2, A View to a Kill was not shot on Fujifilm, but rather on Eastman, using Eastman color negative 400T for the shooting. And the final fun fact is the biggest fleet of blimps is run by Goodyear. And Goodyear has a blimp base. I don't know if that's really what they call it, but I like the alliteration. Here in SoCal. And we end the Moore era. As we move on to other Bonds, I've got to say I sort of prefer the older planes and brands to the current stuff. But we shall soldier on and complete the series. If you've been watching this far, I thank you. Thanks for putting up with my poor pronunciation. And I've got way too many anorak Bond subjects for you to binge on, should any of you like it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And now, most importantly, my disclaimers.